Welcome to Charts Today. My name's David Linton, and today's edition for Tuesday the 13th of June comes to you from London. And we start by looking at currencies, then we'll look at stock markets, some commodities, and last of all some US tech stocks where there's been quite a lot of action, a sell-off over the last few days. So we start with the dollar index, falling away this morning, just now starting to test cloud support. So we were looking quite bullish in the short term, but we've now just starting to fall away here. And if we break through this sort of 96.40 level, then that would give us an activation on that downside target to about 94. So we are still seeing the sell-off in the dollar. Long term still bullish, but just coming through the chart here. Medium term is bearish. So the dollar just looking pretty weak in the short term again, and the euro is strengthening. So we've seen a jump this morning. The key thing is, can we convincingly break above this weekly cloud and start to undo some of these downside targets on the chart? So but the short-term outlook is looking a little bit better. We're still below the cloud though until we break that cloud short-term. And we look at the Japanese yen. Dollar falling here is finding a little bit of support on the cloud. So not yet clear that the dollar is falling against the yen, but we are just seeing in the long and medium term still the yen is positive. Sterling, a little bit of a recovery this morning, had a pretty bad day yesterday, selling off and really just nudging this 126 sort of 30 area, which was the low we saw on Friday post-election. Interesting looking at the daily candles, a lot of information in the candles. So we see here this was the daily candle with a spike down. Yesterday we were trading in that range of the spike. In fact, today we've got a little bit of recovery, but we shouldn't be too surprised to see these levels being breached. We've got a downside target of 123.23. That's 2.8% downside. The medium-term chart is still bullish, but the long-term chart is bearish, and these downside targets still hang over us, so that is a factor. And if we want to take a look at the 1-minute chart, just simply double-click on your chart, press the T key, and we've got all these downside targets here. So 125.50 and 122.50 and 125.25 is where we're seeing the targets. And we just noticed that there's more downside targets than there is upside, and a downtrend, so a lot of pressure in the short term for sterling. If you are trading the currencies, keep a close eye on the 1-minute charts. Taking a look at euro sterling, looking pretty bearish here as well. About 2% downside, bearish on all three charts, and we see the sell-off here quite strongly. So sterling against the euro is looking quite weak, and against the Swiss franc as well. New downside target of 119.47, 120. So we're seeing between 2 and 2.5% downside for sterling here. Against the Australian dollar, again downside targets of about 1 and 1.75%, and bearish in the short term. The medium term is still holding its bullish position, but we are seeing quite a sell-off there. The S&P 500 yesterday, looking at US stock markets, was just still holding its position. So the broader market looking quite good. Nasdaq fell very heavily on Friday. Really a mute recovery yesterday. So we're not really seeing that coming back yet. Dow was looking quite strong, the bellwether's looking good, and the Russell 2000 looking good. So it's all in tech that we have been seeing that sell-off. No change yet on the S&P future, and the Nasdaq E-mini is up 0.25% this morning. So we may just see a little bit of a recovery in tech today. The FTSE 100 is up this morning. We're still just slightly bearish below the cloud, but it's taking the geopolitical risks in its side. The FTSE 250 is still bearish in the short term, but looking good medium and long term. The DAX still looking pretty good all round. The Nikkei is just holding its bullish position in the short term, and the Hang Seng is finding support on the cloud short term as well. Shanghai, the local market, looking a little bit better there. The Sensex is looking still pretty strong, been flat the last few days, so that's quite key. And the Australian market, quite a strong recovery there this morning. We're seeing a bounce off the support level, so not activating that downside target, moving back into territory where we're activating to the upside. Brent crude trying to recover a little bit off the floor at the moment, up this morning, but not yet fully bullish on the short-term chart. And WTI, much the same picture, of course. US nat gas just sitting steady at just around $3, really not doing very much at the moment. Taking a look at cocoa, up nearly 2% this morning, so we've got a bullish transition there. And taking a look at wheat, again, just bearish in the long and short term, medium term, quite mixed. Gold, of course, has been the one that we've been looking at quite strongly. Short term downside pressure on gold, but the long term picture is changing, so we shouldn't be surprised to see a reversal in this trend at some point soon. Keep an eye on the 1 minute charts if you're trading gold. Silver, much the same thing. Taking a look at Apple, yesterday just sitting steady, but really fell heavily on Friday. Google, much the same picture. These stocks all pretty in line with the Nasdaq. Seeing just big sell-offs all around in the tech majors. Microsoft probably the best of the bunch there, just holding its own on the cloud. That's it for today. Until tomorrow, happy charting. See you then.